Hey guys, it's Hannah here, back with another video, and today I decided that I was going to show you my another makeup video, basically, but I also got a story time I want to tell, so I decided, how can I do these both in one day? How about I just combine them? Chloe, stop eating stuff. Spit it out. Or swallow it, whatever. But yeah, so I'm going to do my makeup routine and be talking about a story time. So this story time is about, I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to keep it in a lighter sense, and I'm going to talk about my friend Akasha, as I mentioned in the last video. Now, Akasha was one of a great friend of mine. She's not anymore. I hate her guts. But she used to be a really good friend of mine and my best friend Maddie. But that all changed in the matter of one day. And this day is the day that pretty much ruined me and Maddie's relationship together and ruined literally just everything I had going for me. So my best friend Maddie, we've been best friends forever, and we are still best friends to this day. Her grandma just doesn't trust me all the way because of this incident. So one day, me and my best friend Maddie, I'm just going to say Maddie now, but one day me and Maddie went to the public park that we had in our little town. And we actually had like 3 parks, and 2 of them were like really close together. There was the church park. It was a park that was built right behind a church. And that one wasn't really exploding with attention. It was actually the new park is what we all called it, because it was the newest park in the town. So it was pretty small, and there were houses behind it, and one of those houses happened to be Akasha's, and she was at the park one day. And Maddie knew her from school, and I did not go to her school at that time, though, because I was going to a different one because of bullying and moving and all different types of crap. But I went to the park with her one day, and she was like, hey, do you want to go to the park, hang out for a little? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And we went to the park, and lo and behold, the person that literally ruined everything for me was there. Her name's Akasha. And I don't want to give out any last names because I really don't want to ruin any. I would love to give out her last name. I really would, but I can't. So anyways, we were hanging out at the park, and Akasha's house was right behind the park. And they were renting. I remember that. They were renting their houses. And so that day, Maddie saw Akasha, and she was like, oh, hey, how are you? And we started talking, and I kind of felt a little connection between me and her. And I was like, hey, you want to be friends? Want to come over to my house and hang out? Because I actually had a trampoline at the time. My friend broke my trampoline like a little while ago, but, it's not his fault. But anyways, I used to have a trampoline, and I would always have a lot of people over, either playing on it, and no, I wasn't actually popular. It was either Akasha or Maddie coming over, or my friend Josiah coming over to play on the trampoline and, just hang out. And it was me and Maddie's, favorite hangout spot. And so I was like, hey, you want to come over and play on the trampoline? And during this time, it was summer, and it was, really hot out. I remember that. And so I used to put a sprinkler underneath the trampoline, and then, the water would come up through the trampoline, and we'd all bounce around in it, and it'd be fun. But I was like, hey, you want to come over, get your bathing suit on, hang out? And she was like, yeah, sure. And so she went and asked her mom, and she came to our house, my house, and she, we hung out. We had a good relationship going between us. There's not really much to the beginning except for one day I started saying, Maddie, I can't hang out today. I got this and this going on. Me and Akasha are going somewhere. And I remember her asking once, why can't I come? And then I said, well, because I can only bring one friend, when really Mom said, go get Maddie. And I said, no, I want to take Akasha. I don't want to take Maddie. And that was really, really low for me. And even though I was really little. And I said, no, I don't want to bring Maddie. I just want to bring Akasha. And I brought Akasha, and I didn't even talk to Maddie. I just told her, no, you can't come. And I didn't even explain why. I just said, no, you can't come. And that day was the day that me and Maddie's relationship kind of started going downhill. And when it started going downhill, Akasha was there for me. And she was like, no, you don't need Maddie. You don't need Maddie here, I'll be your friend and stuff like that. And I actually never told the whole story to Maddie while we weren't friends because I knew that she wouldn't want to hear it. That and when we stay the night, it's pretty dope. We don't even have time to worry about Akasha. But also, if you guys are wondering why I have this really bright light, it's because it hides my my zits. See this? Guys, get closer. You'll see every bit of puberty happening. So that's why I got that big light on. But anyways, that day was the marking of when I stopped trying to hang out with Maddie, and every day that I could, I would go over to Akasha's house, and because we did not live that far away, we lived really close to the park, and she lived right behind it. So every day I could, I would go and ask Akasha if she could hang out, and pretty much every day she would say yeah, sure. And we would always go back to my house and jump on the trampoline, do whatever. And every day I just kind of got further and further away from Maddie, and it was horrible. And one day Akasha couldn't hang out, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder why I can't hang out with Maddie anymore, or stuff like that. And the reason is Akasha didn't really want me to hang out with Maddie because she said that all I needed was her. And I don't want to say she wouldn't let me, but she didn't like it when I did. So since Akasha couldn't hang out that day, I decided, hey, let's hang out with Maddie for a couple minutes. And I hung out with her. And I think that was the day that I told her I don't want to be friends with you anymore. Because we got into a fight over Akasha after her telling me that I wasn't hanging out with her enough, and if we wanted to be friends, we have to hang out and stuff like that. Remember, we were kind of little, so childish crap. But she was like, we need to hang out more, and it's so much fun hanging out with you. And I said the same first, and she said it back. And we just kind of went on, and it moved into a darker talking about how we don't think we can be friends anymore. We're not suitable for each other. We never talk. We never do anything together. It's always with Akasha. And I said, no, it's not always with Akasha. It's all about you all the time. When really, it was about me. Literally every day we hung out, I would always talk to her about my problems, and I would never, ever let her talk about hers. And that's when I think that she knew I was not a good friend for her. And so that day she broke it off, and she was like, I don't want to be your friend anymore. And I, knowing the smart ass I am, I don't want to be your friend anymore either. And she left, and I went home. I went in my room and I cried. The next day. And that day I was mad at her, and then the next day I realized I really, really miss her. And then about 2 days later, Kasha could hang out again, and I told her what happened, and Kasha was like, see, I told you she wasn't the right person for you. And I was like, no, you're right, she's not. And fast forward to just me and Akasha being friends. Me and Akasha would go out on the trampoline and jump and be as loud as we could to make Maddie jealous. I'm almost positive that's what we did, because I was never that loud. But we would make as much noise as we could to get Maddie's attention, because her room was facing my house. 1 second. That hurt. But we would go out there and make as much noise as we could, and then we'd just try to make Maddie jealous, and it would never work. Maddie doesn't get jealous. But sorry. But you know, we would always just go out there and try and be mean and belittle. And I remember another day Kasha couldn't hang out, and she actually couldn't hang out for a week. And that was when I really started thinking about things and whether Kasha was the right friend for me or not. And as I was thinking about that, I realized that, well, I thought at the time that Maddie was literally just the worst friend I could ever have in the world. And I was like, she's never supportive of me, she's never talked to me, you know, she always just makes it about me, and oh my god, dude, if only you knew me back then, I would never ever be considerate. I would just think, no, it's all about me. Me. If it's about you, you can go. But, so I was like, no, she's not my friend anymore. I don't even like her. And, then Akasha came to my house one day. You know, one thing about me and Akasha was we would literally spend the night for a week straight. I'm not even joking. We would stay the night for a week. And it would always be at my house. I think I spent the night at her old house twice. But when we did stay the night, we would always talk about Maddie and like our past and different things about each other that we didn't know about each other, and you know, things like that, girl stuff. And one thing that came up was her old friends and how they always stopped being friends with her. And I always, like, you know, just kind of brushed it off, and I was like, oh, cool, you know, that sucks, and whatever. And she would always, like, come over to my house, and, you know, we just talked. I honestly thought that she was a good friend because she always let me talk. And whenever I asked her to go get something, she wouldn't be like, no, I'm not going to do that, you know, like Maddie does. And that is something that's actually helped me in life, was I need to stop being lazy and go get it myself instead of making my guest go get it for me. But Akasha would always just go get it for me, and I'd always say, man, you're so much better than Maddie. She never gets this stuff for me. And then we'd play Minecraft for like 3 or 4 hours. And I can't even, like, dude, come on, I was dumb. And I would always, like, say stuff smart, like, Maddie would never do this, you're so great, and stuff like that. And honestly, I regret it. I regret the day I went to that park. And I honestly still feel bad to this day about me and Akasha being friends. She was literally just the worst thing that could have happened to me at that time. And, yeah, pretty much it. And so we were talking more and more and more and more. And her parents liked me. They were really nice. They were really big drunks. Like, they would literally just drink every single night that I was over there. And I didn't really know what to do because I never really been around drunks, and my parents never drink. Like, I've never seen them drink before. Well, I have now that I'm getting older, but you know what I'm saying, right? And they're happy drunks. They're fight until you're dead drunks. So it was kind of like, it was weird to me. Like, I'd never really been around drunks before, and I didn't know what to do. And so me and Akasha would normally stay into come to the day where let me rewind, I'm sorry, where she actually moved away, and she moved somewhere, I'm sorry, I was just going to tell you where she lived, but, she moved around 20 minutes from me, and, freaking, oh my god, dude. So, I'm sorry, I was really disappointed. I was like, no, you're not moving. Why are you moving and stuff? And it was actually because their landlords were kicking them out because they wanted their house back. Which, I know I don't like their family anymore, but come on, bro. But stand by. Oh, jeez. That's way too much. Ah! So, she moved away, and I would always go over to her house. We would rarely stay the night at my house after she moved away. And, oh my god. I am making this worse. Yo, I overlined my legs. I didn't even mean to. Alright, they're kind of better, just deal with it. But done with my makeup. Now all we can do is talk. So anyways, let's see, where was I? Oh yes, she moved away, and we would always go over to her house. We would never hang out at mine anymore. So, you know, me and her family were really cool. I liked her family a lot because they were always really nice and funny, and I loved them, and, it was great for me. I thought it was literally, like, the best thing ever, and, it wasn't. It was not at all. It honestly just wasn't. So, I don't know. But fast forward about a year later after she moved away. And then we had been friends for a while. After she moved away, I became friends with Maddie again. We didn't hang out as often. You know, she'd always tell me, Akasha always talks crap behind your back. And I'd always say, no, you're lying. Akasha would never do that to me. And then Maddie would be like, okay, whatever you say. And I would never, ever believe her. And sucks for me, though, right? But I'd never listen to her. I'd always say, no, you're lying. You're just trying to get me and Akasha not close anymore and stuff like that. You know, horrible grammar. But, like, after Akasha moved away, I'd always go over to her house and stuff like that. And one night, and this was the night when it all fell apart for me and Akasha. And that night was when her and her parents were drunk. Surprising. And her parents were drunk, and me and Akasha always used to stay in her room until her parents went to bed, which was like around 3 or 2. And we would always wait, and it was around 3:30, and we'd been playing Minecraft for a while, and we were like, hey, you know, I'm hungry, let's just go out there and eat something. And so we went out there to get some food, and then we brought our blankets out there and stuff and started setting up shop out there because we knew that they were going to be tired and want to go to bed soon. So when we went out there, her parents were out there watching TV, and before that night, maybe like, I want to say like a month before that night, her cousins were over, Dakota and something else or whatever. They're really little, they don't know any better, but they were like throwing a ball back and forth, and they like threw it, and Elijah, her little brother, like kind of, I don't know what he did, but the ball ended up hitting the big screen TV, and it cracked and broke, and Brandy was drunk one night, got mad, and smashed it even more, so that didn't help, but you know, it's whatever. And so they had taken the small TV out of, I want to say it was Akasha's room, I think, or it was Elijah's room. I'm not sure. Maybe they had a spare TV somewhere. All I know is that they had a way smaller TV out in the living room, and they were watching TV. They were like watching baseball or football or something. I don't know what they were watching, but they were watching something that had to do with sports. And we came out there. We started putting all of our blankets on the ground because usually we'll sleep on the ground or we'll sleep on separate couches. And that night we started setting up shop like we usually do when they're out there past 3 o'clock. And we started setting up, and they were like talking and stuff, and you know, drunk people don't even know what they're doing, but they were like talking and stuff, and Brandy had to go in the kitchen and make Brad lunch for the next day, and I came up and I grabbed a piece of cheese and I just ate it, and then Brandy was like joking around with me and stuff, and you know, like we were laying down and we were starting to play Minecraft and getting all comfortable and stuff, and like, sorry, I thought there was something in my eye, but we were getting all comfy and stuff, and then like Brandy came up and they were starting to talk about my dad. And my dad actually is disabled. He has something going on with his back. It's literally just falling apart, and it's been like that for a while. And they were like saying like, your dad's lying, he doesn't have disabled, he's just getting money for it. And then they were like, I'm not just gonna pay for someone who sits on his ass all day and smokes weed. And I'm sorry, there's like a lot of lipstick on my teeth. But they were like, I'm not gonna pay for his social security and stuff, and they just like kept saying stuff like, I pay for your dad to sit on his ass and smoke weed, and like stuff like that. And I'm over there like, what? Is this like a hostile situation now? What are you talking about? And they just like kept going on and on about how they pay my dad's social security, which is not true at all. They pay their own social security for when they need it or something like that. I don't know how it works, but that's what my dad told me when I got back home, is that they pay for their own. And I like kind of got a little bit defensive, and I was like, my dad doesn't just sit around all day. He actually does stuff around the house. which he did. He actually built a bench, and he made, like, things for the window. Like, he fixed the screen on the window and stuff, and he fixed the front door and stuff like that, and, like, fixed the gate, and he actually did a lot of stuff while we were gone. He actually made me a sandwich once. It was a good sandwich. But I was like, he doesn't just sit around all day, and, like, I kind of got an adrenaline rush because it was making me mad, the fact that they didn't even know my dad. They didn't even know my dad. And actually rewind for around, like, the second time Akasha stayed the night. My dad was in the shower, and Brandy said, "Where's your dad?" when she was at the front door, and I was like, "Oh, he's in the shower." And she was like, "Oh, can I talk to him for a second?" And I was like, "No, he just got in." And she, like, kind of walked in the house and went to the bathroom and opened the door a little bit and said, "Hey, is it okay if Akasha can stay the night?" And, like, went inside my house without me saying a word to her about coming inside. And my dad was in the shower, like, naked in the shower. And she came in the house and cracked the door a little bit and yelled, "Is it okay if Akasha can stay the night?" And my dad was like, yeah, it's fine. And, like, when she left, he got out and he was, like, looking at me. And the next day when Akasha left, he was like, "What was that about? What was that? What just happened?" It was funny, but it wasn't at the time. But it is now. But, like, we were there and they were fighting and, like, about my dad and telling me, like, these lies because they thought I was, like, a little girl. I didn't understand things yet and stuff like that. And, like, I'm over there like, bruh, I not stupid. And so I got an adrenaline rush, and when I get adrenaline rush, I start, like, my voice gets all shaky and, like, I can't breathe right, mostly because I have asthma, but it's, like, something with adrenaline that just makes my asthma go a little bit insane, but it's okay. I was crying off my mascara, and, like, it was just running down my face, and I was, like, cleaning it up so that they wouldn't know I was crying. And I cleaned it all up, and then I went back out there, and I stormed out there after packing up all my stuff, because I'm not going to stay in a house that does that. And they were still talking about my dad, and so I yelled at them at the top of my lungs with a scream, with a baby newborn sleeping in the other room, and her little brother sleeping in the other room, while Akasha was under the blanket playing Minecraft the whole time. Didn't even say a word the whole time. She was just had a blanket over her tablet underneath there, and she was playing Minecraft. And it's like she didn't even notice anything. And so they were still talking about my dad, and I came out there and I yelled at the top of my lungs, saying stuff like, "You don't even know my dad. If you knew my dad, you wouldn't be saying half the shit you're saying now." And, like, stuff like that. And then Brad started yelling at me, saying, like, "We pay for his Social Security. We're not going to pay for it anymore. Your dad's going to get screwed over." And I was like, "You're going to get screwed over. I'm not going to sit here and take this," and stuff like that. And, like, I ended up just grabbing my garbage bag full of stuff, and I walked out the door. And I was waiting in their driveway, and they smoke cigarettes, and I'm pretty sure they still do. And they smoked cigarettes, and they were out in the back patio, and a fence was blocking the way to the driveway. And so they were at the back patio, and they were smoking a cigarette, and out of nowhere, after I got done talking to Mom, it was 2 or 3 in the morning, right? And my mom had to come and get me, and because I'm just not going to stay in that hostile situation, and I'm not going to stay in a house that doesn't appreciate my dad. And I was like, "And you know what? I'm leaving." So I didn't even say anything. I just did that in my head. I was like, "You know what? No, I'm not going to stay in here anymore. I'm done. Bye." And so I left, and I was waiting in the driveway with my stuff. And they lived, like, remember, we lived, like, 20 minutes away. And traffic was a little bit bad, too. So it was about maybe 35 minutes for them to get there. At least it felt like that. And while I was waiting and I just got off the phone, I hear Brandy say, "Hannah, don't go out there. We don't want you to get hurt and stuff. I'm like, I'm fine. Just leave me alone. And so they were like, and freaking my parents get there and take me home. I go to sleep, and next morning wake up. Then about a week goes by, and I talked to Akasha, and I asked if her parents were mad at me, and she was like, no, they're not mad at you at all. And one night came along when she Skype called me, and she said that she wasn't at anyone's house, and she wanted me to, like, ask her stuff or whatever. I don't know what she was talking about. All I know is that this came up. And she was at her friend Chris's house. And freaking Krista was there and told her to Skype call me and stuff. So, like, she was like, oh, okay. And they called me, and they were like, I don't know, only Akasha was talking and said, no, I'm not at anyone's house and stuff like that. And I was, like, talking to her like she was just at home. And, like, oh my god, dude. I can't even with this, though. Sorry, I'm in a bouncy chair. It's really fun to bounce on. But, Jesus, dude, like, I can't even know. Like, it was ridiculous. And, so I don't remember how this part happened, but it did. And out of nowhere, she just goes, I don't think we can be friends anymore. And I said, what? She said, I don't think we can be friends anymore. And she was like, you're just mean, and everything's always about you and never about me and stuff like that. And I was sitting there like, wait, what? I was like, is this because the fight with me and your parents? And she was like, no, they don't care. And she was like, I just don't want to be your friend anymore. And, like, I was like, so what? You were, like, using me or something for a year or two? And she was like, yeah, pretty much. What? I was like jaw dropping. I was like, what do you mean? And so I just, like, kind of hung up, and I just kind of sat there for a minute, and I just started crying. I am literally that emotional, and I was like, I'm just crying over there, crying, and freaking I'm texting her back and forth, why are you doing this? We can work it out. And me and Maddie had actually split up again after she left, and jeez. It was bad. It really, really was bad. And so we were talking back and forth, and she was like, no one can fix this. I'm done. Bye. And she actually ended up blocking me. No, I don't have my own Skype. Okay, well, you know, she blocked me, and I could not get through to her on anything. Social media, nothing. And so I was crying, and I got friends with Maddie again, and I know this story's kind of like all over the place. I'm sorry. It's really complicated. I guess you'd really only get it if you were there. And me and Maddie became friends again, as you can probably tell, and probably should have told this story with her here, but she's not here right now, and I'm bored. So, anyways, me and Maddie became friends, and actually recently, about 1 month ago, I texted Akasha, and I told her she was becoming a really pretty girl and stuff like that. I am not lesbian, do not go there. And, freaking, I was telling her she's turning into a beautiful girl, and I hope the best for you, because we left off on really bad terms, and I just did not want to do that again, and I left off on a bad term again. My bad. So, actually, I have the messages. What? Forgot I'm recording on my iPad, therefore, I don't have the messages. But, anyways, her her friend Haley texted me, her best friend, texted me, and she was like, you know, who are you? What are you doing texting my friend? And stuff like that. And out of nowhere, she calls me a hoe. I said, what? And she says, yeah, you're a hoe. And stuff like that. And so I was fighting with her. And then I texted Akasha, and I said, your friend's a bitch. And she said, don't talk to me ever again, brat. It's like, sorry for trying to make things right. Not my fault. And, yeah. I'm not friends with her anymore. No big deal. I'm never, ever going to be friends with her again. Not in a million years. And not even after that. But, yeah, that was my story time. Wow, that was really unfocused. But that was my story time, you guys. I hope you enjoyed. And I think that's about it, you know? I don't really have anything else I'm going to show you or talk to you about. At least not yet. I'm going to wait around a week. Story times once a week, every day. I'm gaming mostly. And sometimes I have story times. So, you know, if you enjoy these, leave a like and a subscribe. And also, comment down below if you want to see more story times like this. Because I actually have a lot of them. But I also have a story time that's a lot more serious, and some people might get triggered from it. It's a time I got sexually abused by my neighbor. But, yeah, I have a lot of things to talk about. I surprisingly have a lot of story times. But, anyways, that is it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below with your nose. Just, you know, and, you know, have a good day, guys. Be nice to someone today. It just makes everyone's life just a little bit easier.